The sun hung low in the sky over the peaceful colony on the planet Zalara. It was an ordinary day, just like any other. The workers were busy with their tasks, some tending to the crops, others repairing machinery, and the children playing in the fields. The air smelled of fresh soil, and the sounds of everyday life echoed through the small village. But deep in space, far beyond the colony's reach, something stirred. On the outskirts of the system, a fleet of alien ships appeared, undetected until it was almost too late. The first warning came as a faint blip on the colony's radar. At first it was dismissed as a glitch, a stray asteroid passing by. No one thought much of it until the second signal came, and then the third. It wasn't an asteroid. It was an army. The alien fleet, vast and powerful, arrived without warning. There was no negotiation, no attempted communication, just a brutal and relentless assault. The sky darkened as their warships descended upon the colony like an unstoppable storm. The few defense systems the humans had in place were easily overwhelmed. They never stood a chance. Alarms blared across the colony. The workers stopped what they were doing, their eyes wide with fear as they looked up at the sky. The children, once laughing and playing, froze in terror as they watched the ships above them. The calm of the day was shattered in an instant. The people of Zalara knew they were facing the end, and in the control room of the colony's main building, Commander Elias Harper watched the screens, his face pale. "They're not human," he muttered to himself, disbelief in his voice. The alien ships had no markings, no insignia, just sleek, dark shapes that seemed to swallow the light around them. They didn't even fire warning shots. They didn't need to. As the first blast from the alien ships hit the colony's defense shields, the force of the explosion knocked the commander off his feet. Harper scrambled to his feet, rushing to the communications console. "This is Commander Harper of the Zalara colony. We are under attack. We need immediate assistance. I repeat, we need immediate." His message was cut off by the sudden, violent shaking of the building. Another explosion, this time closer, rattled the walls. Outside, the colony's outer structures were collapsing under the weight of the enemy's firepower. There was no time for help. Across the colony, people were scrambling to safety. Families rushed to shelters, but there was nowhere to hide. The alien ships released a barrage of missiles, each one hitting its target with deadly accuracy. Buildings crumbled. The earth trembled. Screams filled the air, but they were drowned out by the sound of weapons fire and the roar of engines. It was chaos, but the invaders showed no mercy. They didn't land. They didn't need to. Their weapons were powerful enough to destroy everything from above. The first wave of blasts took out the colony's main power grid, plunging the entire settlement into darkness. The second wave hit the communications hub, cutting off all contact with the outside world. By the time the third wave arrived, the colony was nothing more than a burning wreck. In the central square, a mother clutched her young daughter tightly to her chest. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, though her voice trembled. She looked up, trying to calm the fear rising in her chest, but the sight above only filled her with dread. The alien ships were everywhere now, covering the sky like a blanket of death. The daughter, no older than 6, looked up at her mother. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked, her voice so small and innocent that it broke the mother's heart. The mother tried to smile, but there was no smile to give. She didn't know how to protect her child from something like this. The alien ships were too powerful. There was no escape. The next blast hit just a few hundred meters from them. The shockwave sent the mother and daughter sprawling to the ground. The mother shielded her child, desperately trying to protect her from the flying debris, but there was nothing she could do. She felt the heat of the explosion before she heard it, and then everything went black. Commander Harper had managed to crawl to the command center's emergency exit, but by the time he reached the surface, it was too late. The colony, his people, his home, it was all gone. In the distance, the alien ships hovered above the wreckage, like vultures circling their prey. And then, as suddenly as they had come, they turned and left. The invasion was over, but for the people of Zalara, it wasn't just the end of a colony, it was the end of everything they had known. There were no survivors. The planet was now a graveyard, a silent witness to the unthinkable. The aliens had made their point. They had wiped out an entire colony with ruthless efficiency. No one had been spared. As the alien fleet disappeared into the darkness of space, one final message was broadcast across the shattered remains of the colony. A message that would be heard on Earth. It was simple and chilling. "This is your warning. Humanity is next." And on Earth, as the message echoed through the airwaves, a decision was being made. The Earth Alliance would not let this attack go unanswered. The people of Zalara had been wiped out. but they would not be forgotten. Earth's warships were already on the move. Vengeance was coming. The silence that followed the destruction of Zalera was deafening. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The news networks, government officials, and military leaders were scrambling to process what had just happened. The colonies on distant planets were supposed to be protected. They were the frontier of human civilization, isolated yet secure. But that sense of security was shattered in an instant. The human race had just been given a cruel reminder that the galaxy was full of dangers far beyond their control. In the quiet of Earth's war rooms, leaders sat in grim silence. The once peaceful relations with the galaxy's many species were gone, wiped out by one brutal attack. The alien invaders had made it clear, humanity was nothing more than a target. But Earth was not about to lie down and let it happen again. "We will not let this stand," General Marcus Stroud said, his voice cold and steady as he looked at the gathered commanders. "Zalera was just the beginning. These creatures want to wipe us out, and they think we will cower. They are wrong." The decision had already been made, though it had taken little time. Earth's military had long prepared for the worst, quietly, amassing one of the largest fleets the galaxy had ever seen. They had the strength, the will, and now, the anger. The commanders knew what needed to be done. They would not ask questions, nor would they hesitate. The plans were set into motion quickly. Earth's 700,000 warships, each a massive vessel capable of decimating entire worlds, were already being assembled. Some had been in the works for years. Others were newly constructed but ready for war. These ships weren't just weapons. They were symbols of humanity's refusal to back down. Each ship was packed with the latest technology, weapon systems far beyond what the aliens had ever encountered. Earth wasn't going to just respond, they were going to retaliate with everything they had. Within hours, the fleet began to depart Earth's orbit. The enormous ships broke free from the planet's atmosphere, each one leaving behind a trail of fire and smoke as they moved toward their target. But there was no turning back. The alien forces had made their mistake, and now Earth was coming. For them as the ships cruised through the dark void of space, the tension on board each vessel was palpable. Thousands of soldiers, technicians, and strategists stood at attention in the command centers, preparing for the battle ahead. Their minds were focused, their hearts heavy with the weight of the mission. They knew what was at stake. It wasn't just vengeance. It was survival. On the flagship, the Terra Imperium, General Stroud stood in front of a massive window that overlooked the stars. The fleet was massive. More ships than any one person could comprehend. But for Stroud, there was only one thought that dominated his mind. The destruction of Zalera would be avenged in the depths of the flagship. Commander Sarah Jameson sat at the helm, her eyes scanning the radar. She had been one of the first to respond to the attack on Zalera, and the memory of the planet's final moments haunted her. The screams of those who had died, the helplessness in the air, it played over and over in her mind. She knew that no amount of firepower would bring those people back. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that Earth would never be caught off guard again. "We'll make them regret this," Sarah whispered under her breath, barely audible. Even in the quiet room, the fleet sailed on, a dark armada of humanity's finest, heading into enemy territory. The aliens had no idea what was coming for them. Meanwhile, the alien fleet that had attacked Zalera was still in their sector, thinking their mission was complete. They had destroyed one of humanity's colonies with ease. But they were wrong to think that humanity would just sit back and let it go. Their arrogance would be their undoing. Back in the war rooms on Earth, intelligence officers were hard at work analyzing the alien fleet. They had gathered as much information as possible from the wreckage of Zalera and the few surviving communications from the colony. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The aliens weren't just a single species. They were part of a larger coalition of forces and alliance that had been making its way across the galaxy, conquering worlds and leaving devastation in their wake. The truth was, humanity was just one of many civilizations they had planned to destroy, but the one thing the aliens hadn't counted on was humanity's sheer willpower. They had underestimated Earth. They thought that wiping out one colony would make the humans back down, but they had no idea how wrong they were. It was not a planet of passive civilians. It was a world forged in the fire of conflict and war. And now, Earth would bring that fire to the alien fleets. The first wave of the human warships arrived in the alien sector, their presence immediately detected by enemy sensors. The aliens scrambled to prepare for a fight, but they were not ready. The human fleet was unlike anything they had faced before, huge, advanced, and unforgiving. As the ships entered the alien territory, the battle began. It started with a single shot from the Terra Imperium, fired at a fleet of alien ships in the distance. The blast was so powerful that it tore through one ship, obliterating it instantly. The aliens had no time to react. The war had begun. From there it was chaos. Earth's warships tore through the alien defenses, their weapons blazing as they cut through the enemy's ships with brutal precision. The humans had the upper hand, their technology far superior to what the aliens had expected. As the battle raged, the aliens realized too late that they had underestimated the human race. In the heart of the battle, General Stroud's voice crackled over the fleet's communications. "Do not stop. Push forward. We will not rest until every last one of them is destroyed." His words were simple, but they carried the weight of Earth's fury, and so the mission continued. The human fleet driving deeper into alien space, their thirst for vengeance and survival unrelenting. The battle had just begun, and Earth was determined to make it the last. The battle had only just begun, and already, the enemy was beginning to panic. Earth's fleet, a relentless and well-prepared force, was pushing deeper into the alien-controlled sector, leaving destruction in its wake. The aliens, once so confident in their superiority, now found themselves scrambling to regroup. The sheer power of humanity's warships was overwhelming, and the alien ships, though formidable, were no match for the might of Earth's response. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Sarah Jameson stood at the helm of the Terra Imperium, her eyes glued to the flashing lights and blinking readouts on the command console. The air in the command center was thick with tension, but Sarah felt a strange calmness settle over her. She had trained for this moment, prepared for this fight, and now that the time had come, there was no room for fear, only focus. "Sir, we've breached their perimeter," Lieutenant Harlow reported from across the room. "The first wave of enemy ships is retreating, but there are more forces ahead. They're regrouping." Sarah nodded. "Keep pressing forward. We don't stop until we have their entire fleet in our sights." She turned to the communications officer, signaled the fleet. "All ships, form a tight formation. We move together, and we don't give them an inch." The alien fleet, once scattered and confident, was now struggling to keep up with Earth's rapid advance. Their ships were designed for agility, but against the sheer force of Earth's military might, they were vulnerable. Earth's warships were not just advanced, they were heavy, fortified, and equipped with weapons capable of tearing through anything in their path. The alien vessels, in comparison, seemed fragile, and the humans were proving it with every calculated strike. The sound of laser fire echoed through the hull of the Terra Imperium as the crew worked in perfect harmony, each move precise, like a well-rehearsed dance. They had trained for every scenario, prepared for every possibility, but what no one had expected was the sheer fury that Earth would bring. This wasn't just about retaliation, it was about survival, about ensuring that no force, no matter how powerful, would ever threaten humanity again. As the battle raged on, General Marcus Stroud's voice rang out across the fleet's communication network. "Status update. I want a report from every ship within the next 2 minutes. We need to know what we're up against." Sarah responded immediately, her voice steady. "General, we're advancing on their main fleet. Our weapons are tearing through their ships, but there are signs of a bigger force ahead. It's bigger than we anticipated. We might be walking into a trap." A brief silence followed, before the general's calm voice returned. "Then we make sure they know that Earth does not fall easily. No matter what comes, we press forward. Humanity's future depends on it." Ahead of them, a large group of alien ships emerged from the shadows of an asteroid field, their sleek hulls glinting in the distant light of a nearby star. It was a trap, just as Sarah had suspected. The aliens had been luring them in, playing their cards close to the chest, waiting for Earth's fleet to fall into their grasp. But the humans weren't foolish, and they weren't afraid. They had a secret weapon, one the aliens hadn't counted on. As the alien fleet closed in, Earth's ships split into smaller, more agile units, each maneuvering with deadly precision. The Terra Imperium took the lead, its massive guns firing a barrage of energy blasts that obliterated the first wave of alien ships in seconds. The alien forces retaliated, their weapons flashing as they fired back with full force. But Earth's ships were built for endurance. They took the hits, absorbed the damage, and returned fire with even more destructive power. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she watched the alien fleet's movements. They were predictable, desperate, trying to organize their scattered ships into a cohesive formation, but it was too late. Earth's ships had already adapted to their tactics, and they were ready for whatever the aliens had in store. "Bring us in closer," Sarah ordered, her voice sharp. I want to be within range of their command ship. We end this now. The Terra Imperium surged forward, its engines roaring as it charged into the heart of the battle. The alien ships, now realizing that they were facing a force unlike any they had encountered before, tried to form a last-ditch defense, but it was futile. Earth's warships tore through their lines, their weapons never relenting, never giving the enemy a chance to regroup. The alien command ship, massive and imposing, loomed ahead. It was their last stronghold, the heart of the alien fleet. But as Earth's ships drew closer, the aliens made their final, desperate move. They activated a powerful shield around the command ship, a last-ditch effort to protect their leaders and their fleet, but even that could not hold back Earth's fury. The human fleet had already prepared for such a move. Sarah watched as the first salvo from the Terra Imperium hit the alien shield. The explosion rocked the space around them, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. But the shield held for now. The aliens had bought themselves a little more time, but not much. Fire everything we've got, Sarah shouted. Take down that shield. The Terra Imperium unleashed everything it had, a relentless barrage of energy, blasts, missiles, and plasma shots. The alien shield began to crack under the pressure, and then, with a massive explosion, it shattered. The command ship, exposed and vulnerable, was now at Earth's mercy. For a brief moment, the battlefield fell silent. The alien fleet, broken and scattered, tried to retreat, but it was too late. Earth's forces closed in from all sides, and one by one, the alien ships fell. The final blow came when the Terra Imperium fired a direct shot at the command ship. The massive vessel erupted in a burst of light, the explosion sending ripples through the remaining alien fleet. As the battle began to wind down, the surviving alien ships fled into the darkness of space, leaving Earth's fleet victorious, but not unscathed. The cost had been high, but Earth had won the first round. And as Sarah stood on the bridge, watching the debris of the enemy fleet drift away into the void, she knew this was only the beginning. The war was far from over. The remnants of the alien fleet drifted in the aftermath of the battle, their shattered vessels scattered like broken toys in the void of space. Earth's warships hung above them, silent and menacing, their engines humming as they hovered in a tense stillness. Though the victory was clear, the cost of it was written across every ship. The battle had been fierce, the stakes unimaginable, and yet the enemy had been defeated. But there was something else now, something that gnawed at the back of Commander Sarah Jameson's mind as she stood on the bridge of the Terra Imperium, staring out at the wreckage. Something didn't sit right. All systems report in, Sarah ordered, her voice calm but carrying the weight of 100 unanswered questions. Give me a full status update, sir, Lieutenant Harlow said, his face tense as he scanned his display. We've sustained heavy damage, but nothing critical. Shields are holding, though some of our communication arrays have been compromised. Minor repairs needed. Sarah nodded, but didn't respond immediately. The alien fleet had been formidable, and the battle had been nothing short of brutal. But despite their victory, there was an unease in her gut that she couldn't shake. The aliens had been powerful, yes, but there was something else. Something strange about the way they fought, the way they organized themselves. It wasn't just an attack, it felt like a provocation. We've taken out their command ship, but we've left one key thing intact, Sarah muttered under her breath. The fleet had crippled the alien forces, but it wasn't just about destroying ships. There was something lurking beneath the surface, something that they still didn't understand about these enemies. Commander, we've detected unusual signals coming from deep within the debris field, said Lieutenant Nora Vega, the ship's top intelligence officer, as her eyes darted over the screen. It's not normal. It's like they're trying to send a message, but it's too encrypted for us to decode. Sarah's interest peaked, and she stepped forward, leaning over the console. What kind of message? Can you get a fix on it? We're working on it, but it's unlike anything we've encountered. It's not a standard transmission, Vega replied. It's almost as if they're sending a distress signal, but it's also a beacon of some sort. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. This didn't make sense. The battle had been one-sided, yet the enemy was sending out a signal now, after their defeat. It wasn't just a surrender, it was something far more insidious, like they were trying to warn someone or call for reinforcements. Have the fleet hold position. I want every ship to scan that debris field, Sarah ordered. If there's something hidden there, we need to find it now. The crew worked quickly, scanning the wreckage for anything out of the ordinary. Sarah's mind raced. She'd seen countless battles before, but this one felt different. The aliens had been too organized, too methodical. They didn't fight like a typical invading force, they were calculated, almost too focused. As Sarah paced the bridge, her thoughts raced back to the initial encounter, the unprovoked attack on Zap. The sheer speed and power of the alien fleet had been overwhelming, and the way they'd struck without warning felt almost predatory. They were hunting, not just conquering. The data came in fast. Lieutenant Vega's fingers danced across the console, rapidly decoding the strange signal. Commander, I've got it. The transmission's coming from a shipwreck that's not fully destroyed, it's cloaked in the debris. The aliens hid it well. A knot formed in Sarah's stomach. Is it a trap? Not sure yet, Vega replied, her eyes narrowing, but I've isolated a small portion of the transmission. It's directing something ... to another system. It's requesting reinforcements. Sarah's blood ran cold. Reinforcements. The aliens weren't retreating, they were regrouping. Reinforcements, she repeated, her mind working quickly. We've only just defeated the bulk of their fleet. They can't be serious. They're serious, Commander. We're dealing with something bigger than we thought. The implications were immediate and terrifying. The aliens had sent out a distress call while they were still being pummeled by Earth's forces. It was a contingency plan, and it was already in motion. Somewhere, beyond the reach of Earth's fleet, reinforcements were on their way. And these weren't just any reinforcements, they were more advanced, more dangerous, and far more deadly. Sarah exhaled sharply, turning to the tactical officer. How much time do we have? Based on the transmission's frequency and trajectory, we estimate the reinforcements are still days away, Lieutenant Harlow said. But their path is already plotted. They'll be here soon, and they're bringing more firepower. We need to move, now, Sarah said. Alert the fleet. We've won this round, but it's far from over. Get us to that system. We'll meet them head-on before they can organize and launch a counteroffensive. The Terra Imperium shifted into motion, its engines roaring as the ship accelerated toward the location of the incoming reinforcements. There was no time to waste, and no room for hesitation. The next few days would be critical, and Sarah was determined to keep Earth one step ahead of its enemies. As the ship made its way toward the alien system, Sarah's mind focused on the task ahead. The battle for humanity's survival was far from over, and the true nature of the alien forces was still a mystery. But one thing was clear, this war wasn't just about revenge for Zalera. It was about protecting the future of Earth, of humanity itself. The unknown was out there, lurking in the darkness, and Sarah wasn't about to let it take everything from them. Not now, not ever. The journey ahead would be perilous, but Sarah and her fleet were ready, and no matter what awaited them, they would face it head-on with the full force of Earth's might. The stars streaked by as Earth's fleet raced toward the alien system, their engines roaring with the intensity of a storm. In the command center of the Terra Imperium, Sarah stood still, her gaze fixed on the vast emptiness of space. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, even as her eyes scanned the dark void outside the ship's windows. It was as though the silence of space itself held some sinister secret, one that was about to unfold. The message from the alien fleet's distress signal had been clear. Reinforcements were coming. And now, as Earth's fleet moved deeper into enemy territory, Sarah's gut told her that they weren't just facing another force, they were heading into the unknown. Report, Sarah barked, her voice breaking the tension in the room. Lieutenant Harlow's voice came through, steady but edged with the same unease Sarah felt. We're approaching the edge of the alien system. Commander, no signs of enemy ships yet, but the readings are off the charts. They're hiding something big. Keep your eyes peeled. I don't like this, Sarah muttered under her breath. They were moving toward the heart of the alien empire, and every second felt like an eternity. The unknown lay ahead, and no one knew just how powerful these reinforcements would be. As the fleet approached the distant star that anchored the alien system, the sensors began to pick up strange readings. At first it was a small flicker, like a distant warning sign, but as they got closer, the signals grew stronger, more distinct. There were no ships in sight, but something vast was waiting for them. Sir, we're being drawn in, Lieutenant Vega reported, her fingers moving rapidly over her console. The readings are shifting, like a gravitational pull. It's not a natural phenomenon, we're being guided. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Guided by who? She asked, turning toward the display, her eyes narrowing as the unknown force seemed to pull them closer. By something we've never encountered before, Vega answered, her voice tight. There's a massive structure on the outer rim of the system, larger than anything we've ever seen. It's like a fortress, but it's different. The word fortress echoed in Sarah's mind. A fortress, in the vast expanse of space. It was hard to imagine something so massive that it could stand out even against the backdrop of the stars. But the alien fleet's reinforcements weren't just ships. They were bringing a weapon, something far worse than Earth had anticipated. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Sarah ordered, gripping the edge of the command console. "We don't know what we're walking into." The Terra Imperium and the fleet moved swiftly, the hum of their engines reverberating through the ship. As they closed in on the structure, the size of it became staggering, an enormous ring-like object, a massive artificial planet or station, hanging in the space between two moons, its silhouette stretching out like an unholy shadow. "That thing, it's a weapon," Lieutenant Harlow said, his voice low. "It's not just a structure, it's designed for war." The station pulsed with energy, emitting a strange glow that wasn't visible from any normal sensor. It was as though it was alive, the power within it vibrating at a frequency that made Sarah's skin crawl. Something about it didn't belong in the universe they knew. "Get us closer. I want a full scan of that station," Sarah said, her mind racing. It was no longer a question of whether Earth could win this war. It was a question of whether they could survive it. The Terra Imperium advanced cautiously, scanning every inch of the massive structure as they moved closer. The eerie glow of the station intensified, and soon the entire fleet was locked in its gravitational grip. It wasn't just a station, it was a trap. "Commander," Vega said, her voice growing tense, "I'm detecting multiple energy signatures coming from inside the station. There's movement, lots of it. They're preparing for something." "Prepare to engage," Sarah said. But before she could issue any further orders, the ship's alarms blared to life, drowning out the silence of the bridge. "Incoming," Harlow shouted, his eyes wide with alarm as a massive fleet of alien warships appeared from behind the ring-like structure. They had been hiding, waiting, and now Earth was surrounded. The alien fleet was unlike anything Sarah had seen. Their ships were sleek, larger than anything Earth had prepared for, their dark, angular designs cutting through space like blades. The reinforcements had arrived, and they were far more advanced than the forces Earth had just destroyed. Without warning, the first volley of energy blasts erupted from the alien ships, lighting up the darkness of space with a blinding flash. The Terra Imperium rocked from the impact, and the crew scrambled to maintain control. Shields flared, holding for now, but the alien ships were relentless. "Return fire," Sarah commanded, her voice sharp. "We're not retreating, we're not backing down." The battle began in earnest. Earth's fleet responded with everything they had, but the alien ships were faster, more agile, and their firepower was devastating. The weapons the humans had come to rely on were effective, but not enough to break through the advanced alien defenses. "Target their command ship," Sarah shouted, her eyes glued to the main screen. "We take out their leadership, we stand a chance." The Terra Imperium surged forward, the massive guns firing in a constant barrage, targeting the heart of the enemy fleet. Earth's ships moved in unison, coordinating their attacks with deadly precision. But the alien reinforcements were ready for them. They had been preparing for this moment, and their counterattack was ferocious. As the battle raged on, Sarah's mind kept returning to the station in the background, the massive ring-like structure that had drawn them in. It was clear now, this was the true threat, and they hadn't even begun to understand its power. The alien fleet might have been the immediate danger, but that station, whatever it was something far darker. "We need to take that station out," Sarah said through gritted teeth. "It's controlling this entire battle. If we don't destroy it, we won't win." The crew worked quickly, adjusting their tactics. The battle was no longer about fighting the alien fleet, it was about stopping the source of their power, the dark heart of their war machine. The stakes had just become much higher, and there was no turning back now. The battle continued to rage, but the intensity of the fight was beginning to shift. Earth's fleet, battered but still determined, had been locked in a deadly dance with the alien reinforcements for hours. Ships fired, engines roared, and explosions painted the void of space with fire and light. Yet, amidst the chaos, Commander Sarah Jameson's thoughts remained fixed on one single objective, the alien station. It was clear now that it wasn't just a weapon, it was the heart of the enemy's power. And unless it was destroyed, Earth's fleet didn't stand a chance. The Terra Imperium had taken heavy hits, and the shields were flickering. The crew moved quickly, rerouting power, making repairs where they could, but the alien ships showed no mercy. It felt as though every blast that struck them brought more pain than the last. But Sarah knew there was no room for hesitation. Earth's survival depended on taking that station down. "Status report," she demanded, her voice sharp. Despite the growing fatigue in her mind, Lieutenant Harlow's voice crackled over the comms. "We've sustained heavy damage, Commander. Several ships in the fleet are already out of commission. The alien fleet is relentless. They're adapting to our tactics faster than we can counter." Sarah gritted her teeth. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for the future of humanity. And yet, even with everything on the line, she knew that this was a battle. "They had to win. We need to break their formation," she said. "If we can disrupt their control over that station, we have a shot." "Understood," Harlow responded, his voice determined. "Initiating maneuvers now." The Terra Imperium surged forward, its weapons blasting out at the alien warships as they attempted to close in. For a moment, the space around them seemed to stretch out, the battle becoming an abstract blur of lights and fire. But then, as if on cue, the entire battlefield shifted. The alien station, massive and menacing, pulsed with a surge of energy darker than anything Earth had seen before. The station seemed to awaken, its power reaching out across the void, connecting to every alien ship in its fleet. The glow from the structure intensified, sending shockwaves across space. It wasn't just controlling the fleet anymore, it was amplifying their power. Earth's ships, which had been pushing back with everything they had, suddenly found themselves at a disadvantage. The alien fleet was more powerful than ever before, and the station's dark pulse was sending ripples through the very fabric of space. "Commander," Lieutenant Vega shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "It's feeding off the energy from the fleet. We're outgunned. They're too strong." The realization hit Sarah like a blow. The station wasn't just a base, it was a source of unimaginable energy, a weapon that could turn the tide of the entire battle. But it wasn't just a weapon. It was a ticking time bomb. If Earth didn't destroy it, they would all be obliterated, their fleets and forces wiped out in an instant. "Target the core of the station," Sarah ordered, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "We can't destroy the entire thing, but if we take out the core, we can sever their link. That'll weaken their fleet. We'll need to get close," Lieutenant Harlow warned, his voice tight. "The station's defenses are escalating. It's going to take everything we have to break through." "We don't have a choice," Sarah said. Her jaw said, "Do it." The Terra Imperium surged forward, dodging fire from the alien fleet as it made its way toward the heart of the station. The ship rocked under the onslaught, its hull groaning with each impact, but it held. Sarah's eyes never left the view screen, watching as the alien station loomed closer, its massive form filling the entire view. The closer they got, the more the air around her seemed to thrum with the power radiating from the structure. It was like a pulse in her chest, an unrelenting, dark rhythm that called out to the ship, to the crew, to the entire fleet. "Ready the final assault," Sarah said, gripping the command console. "Give everything we've got." "Locked on target," Harlow said, his voice steady even in the face of impending doom. "Firing now." The first salvo hit the station with a deafening roar, sending ripples of energy across its surface. For a moment, it seemed like nothing had happened. The station stood firm, its dark energy unyielding. But Sarah saw it. The tiniest crack in its outer shell, a flicker of weakness. Again Sarah commanded, her voice unyielding. "Focus everything on the core. This is our only shot." The Terra Imperium fired once more, this time with everything it had. The blast hit the core of the station, and this time, the structure trembled. The alien fleet seemed to falter, the energy from the station, flickering for the briefest moment. For a split second, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a sound like the tearing of reality itself, the core of the station exploded in a burst of light. The shockwave sent ripples through space, and Sarah felt the Terra Imperium lurch under the force of it. For a moment everything was chaos, lights flashing, alarms blaring, the crew scrambling to maintain control. But through the disarray, one thing was certain: the alien station was no more. The alien fleet began to falter. Without the station's power to fuel them, they were suddenly vulnerable. Their coordination broke down, their attacks slowed. Earth's fleet, though battered, now had the upper hand. The tide had turned. "That's it," Commander Harlow said, his voice filled with relief. "We've done it. Their fleet is destabilizing. They're retreating." But Sarah didn't feel the rush of victory. Instead, she stood still, watching as the alien ships scattered, desperate to escape the aftermath of the destruction. The battle was far from over, and while they had struck a major blow, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something even darker waiting for them beyond this war. But for now, Earth had won. The station was destroyed, and the alien fleet was in disarray. Sarah allowed herself a brief moment of relief, but she knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had many more threats, and Earth had only just begun to show what it was capable of. There would be no mercy for anyone who dared to challenge humanity again, not after this. The silence that followed the destruction of the alien station was deafening. It felt as if the entire galaxy had stopped, holding its breath in the aftermath of the explosion. For a moment there was nothing but the stillness of space, broken only by the soft hum of Earth's fleet, battered but victorious. The alien ships, once so relentless in their pursuit, now turned and fled into the depths of the universe, their formations breaking apart like shattered glass. But Commander Sarah Jameson knew that victory was not something to be savored just yet. The war had not ended, far from it. The battle for humanity's survival had only just begun, and the repercussions of this fight would echo through the galaxy for years to come. "Commander, we've disabled the majority of their fleet," Lieutenant Harlow reported, his voice still tinged with disbelief. "But there are scattered pockets of resistance. The rest are retreating into uncharted space." "Let them run," Sarah said, her voice cold. "This isn't over yet. We've just sent a message, but they'll regroup. They always do." The fleet had done the unthinkable. They had shattered the alien force that had threatened Earth, forcing them to retreat. But Sarah knew that the victory was temporary. The message Earth had sent was clear: humanity would not be wiped out without a fight. But the alien empire was vast, and this skirmish was just one small part of the greater war that was brewing. "We've sustained heavy casualties," Vega added, her voice grim. "Our ships are damaged, and we've lost several of our best men. It's going to take time to recover. And then, we face the unknown." Sarah turned to face the crew gathered on the bridge, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. She could see the toll the battle had taken on each of them. Their nerves were frayed, their bodies weary, but they had fought with everything they had, and now they were standing victorious. But victory, Sarah knew, was always fleeting. "Status of our forces?" she asked, her eyes scanning the data flowing across the screens. "How soon can we be ready for another confrontation?" "The fleet is stabilizing," Harlow answered. "Most of the ships are holding, but the repairs will take time. The majority of the alien ships have retreated to an unknown location, but there are signs they've been communicating with other factions. We can't let our guard down. They'll return, and next time they'll be stronger." Sarah's mind raced. The aliens had been defeated in this battle, but their empire was vast, and this was just a warning shot. She had no illusions about their intentions. The message they'd sent with the destruction of Zalara had been clear: Earth was next. But Earth had shown them something even more powerful: humanity's resolve. "We need to prepare for what comes next," Sarah said, her voice unwavering. "We've just opened a door to something bigger, something that could change everything. But it's not just about winning battles, it's about survival. We need to understand their tactics, their strategies. We need to learn everything we can." As the crew worked tirelessly to assess the damage and make repairs, Sarah retreated to her private quarters for a moment of solitude. The weight of what they had just endured sat heavily on her shoulders. She couldn't shake the images of the battle, of the alien ships falling, of the destruction that had unfolded. But she also couldn't ignore the nagging sense of foreboding that gripped her. The alien fleet had retreated, but what if this was just the beginning? What if they were already preparing for their next move? Sarah knew one thing for certain: the galaxy was no longer a peaceful place, it was a battlefield. As she sat at her desk, staring out at the stars, a thought gnawed at her. The alien invasion was not just about conquering humanity, it was about something more. What had driven them to target Earth? What had made them so relentless in their pursuit? And why had they targeted the colonies first? Her mind flashed back to the wreckage of Zalara, to the broken cries of its inhabitants, to the desperate message sent before the colony was wiped off the map. She knew that Earth had no choice but to keep fighting. But there was something else: a sense of urgency, a feeling that there was something much larger at play. The universe was not just a place of wonder and discovery. It was a place of conflict, of empires, and of endless battles for power. And now, humanity had become a part of that war. A soft beep interrupted Sarah's thoughts, and she glanced down at the communication console. The message was brief, but it was clear. It was from Earth Command. "Commander Jameson, we have received a transmission. It's from the alien forces that have retreated. They're asking for a ceasefire, but it's not a simple request. They're offering terms, and they want to speak directly to you." Sarah stood up, her mind already racing. The offer of peace was not a simple one. It was a calculated move, a trap perhaps, but one she couldn't ignore. The aliens had been defeated, But they were still a force to be reckoned with, and this could be the beginning of something far more dangerous than a simple surrender. Prepare for the transmission, Sarah said, her voice low. We're not done yet. Let's see what they have to offer. The crew gathered around the communication console as the transmission flickered to life. The alien face that appeared on the screen was unlike any Sarah had seen before. Its features dark, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The creature's voice echoed in the room, cold and calculated. We acknowledge your victory, Commander Jameson, but this war is far from over. You may have defeated us once, but the galaxy is vast, and there are forces far greater than you can imagine. Earth has now become a target, and we will not rest until our objective is complete. The words hung in the air like a death sentence, but Sarah held her ground. Then we will fight until the end, she said, her voice steady. We'll never surrender. The alien's eyes flickered as if considering her words. So be it, it said before the transmission cut off. Sarah turned to face her crew, determination hardening in her chest. They think we're finished, but they're wrong. This is just the beginning. Earth will never back down. Not now, not ever. We will fight, and we will win. The crew stood silently, their resolve as strong as ever. The battle for humanity's survival had just taken its next step, and Sarah knew that no matter what came next, Earth would stand ready. The galaxy would remember the name Earth because humanity would make sure of it.